So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a pretty big advocate for free software, and I think everyone should use free software. Most people should use free software. And if you don't know what free software is it's not software that's free as in it doesn't cost anything, or free as in price. Although most free software is just happens to be free in price, doesn't cost anything. But what free software actually is it's software that respects the user's freedom. You may be asking yourself, well, what the heck does that mean? Is there software that doesn't respect my freedom? And to that I would respond, yes, there is software that doesn't respect your freedom. And for a piece of software or a program to respect the user's freedom, it needs to meet four different criteria. The first one is the user should be able to run the program for any reason whatsoever. That's the first one. The second one is the user should be able to view and audit the source code in any way they please, and make changes in any way they like. The third criteria is the user should be able to redistribute the software or program in any way they like to any of the other users. And the fourth criteria is the user should be able to redistribute changes that they make, or any sort of changes that they make to the software whatsoever. And so those are the four criteria for free software. Now you may be wondering, well, what does that do for me, the end user? And it actually does a lot of things. I'll actually go over just a few of them. So the first point in using free software is, or I guess the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons to use free software, is user input. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when I say user input, I mean the user has more say in what gets added, removed, or changed in the software itself. So, for example, let me give an example. So, I'm going to use Microsoft Windows as an example, a piece of software. The people behind it, Microsoft, they have a history of not being too keen on user feedback. The reason being because they're mostly concerned on profits. When you're a giant company like that makes sense. But that does come with a downside. That means as long as whatever you do, it generates a good profit, you don't need to listen to the users. You can if you want to, but you don't have to generate a profit. And so that results in not having good user feedback, or not implementing features or removing features that users want or don't want. But this also comes with another something else as well. With free software, this is of course something that's there. Free software projects take user input from users, not just programmers, but users and all different people from all over that use their software. But this also allows users to, let's just say there's a change that you want in a program. What you can do is you can make requests saying, hey, can you change this? But if you're tech savvy or you know how to program, you can actually just change that in the program yourself and submit it to the whoever runs or organizes that software project, and they can implement it for you or put it in the project themselves. And that's a pretty nice thing to have when it comes to free software. Another point when it comes to using free software is, I would say, performance, usability, stability, and other things like that. So what I mean by that is most free software projects offer, I don't say more performance, but are rather more stable, have less bugs, or any other thing. For example, Microsoft Windows, it's a closed source operating system. The thing about Windows is the source code isn't viewable. So any bugs, security flaws, or things that might slow down the program itself or the operating system itself are only viewable by Microsoft employees. Whereas with free software, I'll use the example of Linux. Since it's free and you can view the source code, any sort of vulnerabilities or things that might slow down the program itself can be easily viewed and found by anyone who has access to the source code. And so that allows people to easily and quickly change sometimes fatal or critical flaws in the software in order to get it up and working or improve performance almost, I won't say immediately, but very quickly. Another very important point when it comes to free software is, I don't want to say malware, but unwanted features, I guess. I'll use Windows as another example. I'm really crapping on Windows. I mean, granted, they deserve it. For example, I heard in Windows 11 that the File Explorer in Windows 11, they're introducing advertisements into the File Explorer. Now, of course, in a free software project, I don't think this would ever happen. Introducing advertisements into a free software project for multiple reasons. But the Windows File Explorer, they're adding advertisements to. Now, if the File Explorer was an open source project, what you can do is you can either look at the source code and say, hey, can you guys remove this, please? Or just go in yourself, remove that part of the source code that displays and serves advertisements, and just release your own File Explorer with no advertisements. It's that easy. And that's just what makes free software better. In fact, there actually is an instance of this. The program Audacity, or Odyssey? I think it's Audacity. It's a audio editing program. A very popular one, in fact. A while ago, they actually introduced telemetry into the program, and there was outrage about this from everyone. But what a lot of users did is they actually, since Audacity was a free and open source program, they could just take that part of the source code that has telemetry and just remove it and fork the program themselves and just have versions of it without any telemetry. And that's basically what people did. And there's actually forks of it that still exist to this day. And that's one of the great things about open source software, is that you can just add your own features however you see fit. And that's something you can't do with like closed source projects like Windows, Google Chrome, or any other closed source project. And another, I'll say final point is this has to do with the first freedom, which is the ability to run the program any way you want. Free software programs never have either a code of conduct or a user agreement. If they do, then I don't want to say they're violating the terms of free software, but they're pretty close to that. Because with free software, you're able to run the program in any way you want, for any reason, for any purpose, no matter what, for good or bad. There are companies out there. For example, I think Adobe has user agreements on their I think free products that you can't use them commercially, or I think a bunch of other commercial products that are closed source usually have user agreements that say, hey, you either can't use this commercially or pay for our license, or et cetera, et cetera. Whereas with free software projects or programs, you don't have that restriction. You can run the program any way you want. I can grab the Linux kernel, or Firefox, which is a free web browser, or even GIMP, which is a free image editor or image manipulation program. And I can use it for whatever purpose I want, whether it be really good or really bad. And I mean really bad. The creators of that program can't do anything because they licensed that project under a free license. So that means you have the freedom to do whatever you want with the program. And it's of course great to have that freedom when it comes to programs or software in general. So those are, I would say, probably the biggest reasons to use free software. I try to use all free software whenever I can. But yeah, that's why you guys should definitely use free software. And yeah, use free software.